Welcome to LVT-SHOWBIZ, the place to get the fastest, highest quality, most interesting updates and new perspectives on Chinese entertainment. Thanks for watching LVT-SHOWBIZ. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to stay tuned for more exciting stories from the world of Chinese celebrities.
He didn't issue a statement. He didn't call a lawyer. He didn't ask his agency to smooth things over. Instead, he showed up at her door. Not her studio, not her manager's office, her home, and not to see her alone, but to sit across from her mother. When word quietly spread that Shu Kai had personally gone to Tan Songyun's family home to apologize, the industry didn't react with noise. It reacted with silence. The kind of silence that only appears when something serious has happened, and no one wants to be the first to say it out loud. This was not a routine visit. This was not public relations. This was a choice that carried weight, risk, and consequence. People immediately asked the wrong question. They asked what happened. The better question was why. Why would a top actor take responsibility for a situation he did not personally create? Why would he choose the most serious, most culturally loaded way to apologize? And why now? Those close to the situation say, this was not a sudden decision. It was the end of a long, uncomfortable chain of events that had been quietly building behind the scenes, far away from cameras, headlines, and trending topics. And when it finally reached a breaking point, there was only one way forward. According to more than one person familiar with the matter, everything traces back to a high-profile fashion event in Shanghai. The kind of event where nothing is accidental, where every detail is planned, where clothing is not just fabric, but image, status, and years of careful work. Tan Songyun arrived as she always does, composed, professional, and quietly confident. She was wearing a carefully selected outfit, one that represented trust between artist and brand, and a reputation built over time. What followed was described by witnesses as brief, unexpected, and deeply uncomfortable. A confrontation that lasted only moments, but changed the atmosphere of the entire venue. A drink was spilled, clothing was ruined, conversations stopped mid-sentence, security moved quickly, smiles disappeared. No one shouted, no scene was made, and yet everyone noticed. Those present say, the moment carried a tone that felt personal rather than accidental. Whether driven by emotion, misunderstanding, or something unresolved, the result was the same. An actress who had done nothing to invite conflict found herself placed in a situation she never chose to enter. From there, the story did not explode, it retreated, and that is where it became more serious. There were no immediate statements, no public clarifications, no carefully worded apologies released online. Instead, there was distance, processing, and, eventually, a decision made quietly by Shu Kai himself. People close to him say he understood something very clearly. Even if he had not been present at the moment, even if he had not acted, the connection alone mattered. In situations like this, silence can feel like indifference. And indifference, especially in matters involving dignity, can cause lasting harm. So he chose a path that few in his position would take. He went in person. In Chinese culture, visiting someone's parents is never casual. It is not symbolic. It is not performative. It is a statement that says, this matter has crossed into the realm of respect, responsibility, and family honor. It is an admission that what happened cannot be brushed aside or reduced to a misunderstanding. Those aware of the visit describe it as calm, restrained, and sincere. Traditional gifts were brought, not for appearance, but because anything less would have been inappropriate. Conversations were not rushed. Time was taken, not to explain, not to justify, but to acknowledge. Importantly, there was no attempt to shift blame. No distancing language, no suggestion that responsibility belonged elsewhere. Shu Kai is said to have spoken plainly, expressing regret for the distress caused, and recognizing the position Tan Songyun had been placed in through no fault of her own. What was said behind closed doors has not been repeated publicly, and that, in itself, has become part of the story. Tan Songyun did not release a statement. Her team did not brief the media. There was no public reaction, positive or negative. Some see this as quiet acceptance. Others see it as professionalism. Many believe it was simply a decision to protect dignity rather than feed speculation. Whatever the interpretation, the absence of public commentary has only deepened interest, not reduced it. Online discussions quickly shifted from the incident itself to the meaning of the response. Was this simply an apology, or was it something more rare? Did it reflect a deeper sense of obligation, or was it an example of how seriously certain lines are taken when crossed? There has also been noticeable attention on the person who has said nothing at all. The individual most directly linked to the initial incident has remained out of sight, offering no explanation, no acknowledgement, no attempt at reconciliation. For many observers, that silence has spoken loudly, creating frustration and unanswered questions. Industry watchers note that situations like this are rarely about a single moment. They are about accumulated tension, blurred boundaries, and the invisible pressures that come with public life. In an environment where personal relationships and professional images often overlap, even small actions can carry disproportionate consequences. What makes this situation resonate so strongly is not outrage, but restraint. No one has escalated, no one has attacked, and yet the emotional gravity remains. It has prompted discussions about accountability, about how much responsibility one person should carry for the actions of another, and about what genuine respect looks like when reputations are at stake. There is also a quieter undercurrent to this story, one about how women in the public eye are often expected to absorb discomfort without complaint, and how rare it is for that imbalance to be directly acknowledged through action rather than words. Whether this chapter is now closed is something only those involved truly know. What is clear is that a line was crossed, and it was answered, not with statements or strategies, but with presence. In an industry built on visibility, this was handled in private. In a culture driven by speed, this was handled slowly. And in a space where excuses are common, responsibility was chosen instead. If you've stayed with this story until the end, thank you for taking the time to look beyond headlines and listen to the quieter details. Stories like this are not about choosing sides. They are about understanding the human decisions that happen when cameras are no longer rolling. If you value calm, thoughtful storytelling that explores real moments inside the entertainment world, we invite you to support LVT-SHOWBIZ by subscribing to the channel. Your attention allows us to continue sharing stories that focus on context, culture, and character rather than noise. Thank you for watching, for reflecting, and for being part of this space. We look forward to seeing you again in the next story, right here on LVT-SHOWBIZ.